The moment millions of Americans have waited 6 decades for has finally arrived. President Trump has just released the JFK assassination file, sending shockwaves through Washington's power centers. The documents are being analyzed in real time by our team and experts across the country. For years, Representative Tim Burchett claimed that this was a cover-up of the highest proportions. And now the public can judge for themselves. Nixon's recorded conversations about protecting the dirty tricks department takes on new significance as these long classified pages finally see the light of day. As Jeffrey Sachs predicted, this could prove to be the most divisive event in modern history. The deep state foundations are shaking as Americans begin to read the truth that's been hidden for generations. And just as Trump has exposed the government secrets by releasing the JFK files, there's a hidden threat destroying men's health nationwide. Most guys think their testosterone is draining due to age or genetics, but there is a shocking culprit, a supposed healthy food destroying your hormones. Just as the deep state has concealed the truth about JFK for decades, food manufacturers have hidden how this one item devastates testosterone levels, draining your energy and crushing your motivation. While we analyze the newly released classified files, you can uncover this testosterone-killing food immediately at sculptnation.com/NNN. It's linked down below. Don't let them keep you weak and tired. Visit sculptnation.com/NNN after you watch this show. Okay, so we are digesting. There's like 500,000 documents released. Some folks online are already screaming, "This is a nothing burger. This is stuff we've seen before." But no, we haven't seen this before. Okay, Alex Sears posting this. We're going to try to break down as much as we can that we have available now. Alex Sears posting, "I just found a bombshell in the JFK documents. Turns out JFK met in secret with Castro, Nixon, and McNamara." Here is the top secret document on your screen. Let's see if we can take a closer look at it. Oh, look at this. This is an actual transcript of the readout. Field distribution. Robert McNamara, Prime Minister Castro. "This missile crisis was the last straw. We almost blew ourselves up. Now we invited you here today. In good faith," says John F. Kennedy. McNamara, "in good faith to sort this thing out." Castro, "And why is he, Nixon, here? He lost," Castro says. Kennedy says, "As I always say, forgive your enemies, but remember their names. Now, gentlemen, as I like to think in this long history of the world, that there are only a few generations. Noises are heard in the background." Nixon, "Sounds like someone's breaking in." Kennedy, "Just the storm, Dick. Sit down." Zombies smash a window, making noises, breaking through. Nixon, "Oh my God." McNamara, "Appears the Pentagon has been breached." Zombies, "Gentlemen, at times like these, our capacity to retaliate must be and has to be massive to deter all forms of aggression," says Kennedy. "Gentlemen, lock and load." Fidel Castro, "Viva Revolution." "Any last words, Mr. President?" Nixon, "Yes, Jack. Any superlative words of inspiration for our humble troops?" JFK, "Do not pray for easy lives, my friends. Pray to be stronger men." This is an actual transcript? Seriously? 2025 release under the President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Act. Field distribution. I mean, this sounds like it. Like, why are they talking about zombies? This is so bizarre. Like, are they just? They must be just joking together. Like, where did this take place? I don't know. There's so much more to get to. JFK files rush to shut down conspiracy talk hours after Oswald's death. Just hours after Ruby killed Lee Harvey Oswald, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover demanded a quick public report to stop conspiracy theories from spreading. Hoover wrote, "There is nothing further on the Oswald case except that he is dead." He wanted to ensure the public believed Oswald acted alone. The memo also shows the FBI was frustrated that Oswald's murder left them without a chance to get more answers. Rather than investigate further, the FBI pushed for a clear and simple conclusion before all the facts were even in. JFK file 198-10007-10029. Here it is, the document dated May 15th, 1953? Must be, that doesn't make sense. May 15th, 1953. I mean, is this supposed to say 63? Okay, section 2. I'm not sure what this is. This. It doesn't seem to line up with the post. So I'm not sure exactly. The date itself is confusing. Report on the Cold War use of radio broadcasting by the CIA, Memorandum, Chief Political Psychological Warfare. Attached here, too, is a report on CIA radio broadcasting as a Cold War weapon. I don't know. This doesn't seem to line up. So, Dustin Mills, thank you for posting that, but I'm not sure. Maybe you posted the wrong document. That's all I can say. I Love America News posting this. Okay, check this out. This is July 1967, July 19th. The subject, Ramparts, John Garrett Underhill, Samuel George Cummings, and Interarmco. Now, I looked into this. Ramparts was a publication. Let me just get some details here for you specifically on what Ramparts was. I wasn't familiar with it. So Ramparts is, this memo appears to be referring to an article published in Ramparts magazine in 1967 discussing John Garrett Underhill and Samuel George Cummings. Underhill was a former intelligence officer, military affairs expert with ties to the CIA and Pentagon. The document suggests he was highly connected within intelligence circles and had knowledge about the assassination of JFK. According to the memo, Underhill allegedly fled to D.C., fearing for his life, and later died under suspicious circumstances. Cummings was a well-known international arms dealer and founded Interarmco, later known as Interarms. Cummings worked closely with intelligence agencies, including the CIA, and was involved in the global arms trade. His company was a major supplier of weapons worldwide. So they say here that Ramparts was a left-leaning publication for exposing controversial intelligence operations. It suggests that Underhill had knowledge of a CIA conspiracy in JFK's assassination and was silenced. It connects the arms dealer to the CIA, implying potential covert arms dealings and intelligence operations. The mention of Oswald's Carcano rifle hints at a broader conspiracy about its origins and whether it was part of a CIA-linked operation. Okay, so taking a closer look, you can read it right there on your screen. I'm going to bring this up a little bit closer for you so we can see it. Everyone watching on their televisions or on your smartphones. The day after the assassination, Gary Underhill left Washington in a hurry. Late in the evening, he showed up at the home of friends in New Jersey. He was very agitated. A small clique within the CIA was responsible for the assassination, he confided, and he was afraid for his life and probably would have to leave the country. Less than 6 months later, Underhill was found shot to death in his Washington apartment, and the coroner ruled it. Well, you can see what it says right there on your screen. Underhill had been an intelligence agent during World War II, was a recognized authority on limited warfare and small arms, a researcher and writer on military affairs. He was on a first-name basis with many of the top brass in the Pentagon. He was also on intimate terms with a number of high-ranking CIA officials. He was one of the agency's unpeople who performed special assignments. At one time, he had been a friend of Samuel Cummings of Interarmco, the arms broker that numbers among its customers the CIA and, ironically, Klein's Sporting Goods of Chicago, from whence the mail-order Carcano allegedly was purchased by Oswald. So here's what's interesting to note, that this was published in Ramparts magazine in June of 1967. So yes, this is a public document that has been out for a very long time. It was published in a magazine, but it was hidden away in these CIA files and the government files. Now, would you have known that it existed? Would you have known to search the Ramparts magazine, June 1967, volume 5, number 12, pages 28 and 29? Would you have known to look there? Well, the CIA and whoever created this document, this secret file, they certainly did, and that's why it was contained in these documents. And now this is coming forward. So if anyone's going to say, oh, this is all public record, we already knew about this, perhaps some of it was. But the fact that it's now compiled and we can have a clear understanding of these tiny pieces of evidence that all link to the bigger picture. It's very important to take that into consideration once we continue to review this. JFK files say libertarian ideals were seen as Cuban subversion of the U.S. Libertarian ideals? Let's see, alternative U.S. public posture on subversion in Latin America. Although our public posture on subversion in Latin America may be too flimsy, too firmly established for intent, I'm sorry, this is hard to read, for instant and radical revision, the following analysis is offered on the assumption that some change in emphasis is both possible and desirable now or at some time in the future. Given the existence of a communist state of either major persuasion, what is the likelihood that it will engage in subversion towards neighboring states? Let's continue here. More from this. Mario Nafal breaking it down too. JFK files, Oswald's contact with Soviet spy linked to assassinations. Newly declassified documents show Lee Harvey Oswald met with Valery Kostikov, a KGB officer tied to Soviet assassination operations at the Soviet embassy in Mexico City just weeks before JFK's death. The memo reveals U.S. officials feared Oswald's trip to Mexico was part of a larger plot. Another document details concerns that Cuba may have used Oswald as a pawn to target JFK. The files also include FBI warnings about Oswald's violent intentions and internal government debates over whether he acted alone or had foreign backing. Does this new evidence change what we know about the JFK assassination? Source: JFK file 202-10001, 10203. And I want to be careful. I want everyone to be careful about poison pills that could be planted within these files. Because a lot of the information we're going to be sifting through and analyzing for, I'm sure, months and weeks on end. There's going to be information that's going to try to steer people in one direction and say, oh, it was just Oswald. Everyone just, there was no grassy knoll. There was nothing to worry about. There's no triangulation. So be careful about the poison pills that could point into some of these directions. We have to sift through it, use discernment. I've even raised the idea of taking all these documents and dumping them into a large language model so that we can use AI to analyze word for word what is in these files and query them like a database to have absolute understanding of what's in them. And I sent a message to a dear friend to maybe he can assist with that. So we're working on that in the background as well here at the Next News Network. Okay, continuing on. Okay, so JFK files, FBI rush to shut down conspiracy talks hours after his death. Okay, so again, here's this May 9th. This is the same document, May of '53. Like, where are people getting this information? Again, this date does not make sense. I'm sorry. I have to dig deeper into this to have an understanding of why that document is presented here. Lee Harvey Oswald was known to be a poor shot, according to the JFK files. It was a poor shot. That's why you needed 3 shooters. Okay, here's the highlighted part of that document. It says right here, Oswald, here it is. Oswald was a poor shot when he tried target firing in the USSR. Texas Patriot posting that juicy piece of information. Let's continue breaking down what we have collected so far. President Trump, Tulsi Gabbard posting this just 3 hours ago. Trump is ushering in a new era of maximum transparency. Today, per his direction, previously redacted JFK assassination files are being released to the public with no redaction. Promises made, promises kept. And here is the press release that was put out March 18th for immediate release. President Trump ushers in a new era of maximum transparency. Absolutely amazing. Tulsi Gabbard got 4.7 million views on that. Green Lives Matter. Imagine how Robert Kennedy Jr. feels today now that the files that the CIA had hidden on the death of his uncle are finally coming out. Robert Kennedy Jr. has been telling us the CIA was deeply involved in the assassination of his uncle JFK for years. Listen to what he has to say.
The term conspiracy theorist there was a memo that went out to all of those journalists who were associated with the CIA in 1964, where they said that anybody who questions the Kennedy assassination, the Warren Report, which was the report that was done by a commission that was appointed by LBJ, and the commission was essentially told, and individual members were told, you got to say that this was a single gunman. Do not let people talk about a conspiracy theory. The named head of the commission was Earl Warren, who was a Supreme Court justice, but the real head of the commission was Allen Dulles, who had been the head of the CIA, who my uncle had fired. When my uncle died, he told a young journalist, he thought he was a god. I'm glad the little shit is dead. And, we now know that the CIA was directly involved in my uncle's assassination and in the 60-year cover-up. Lee Harvey Oswald was a CIA asset. He was recruited, in 1957. He was a Marine working at the Atasui Air Force Base, which was the CIA Air Force Base, with the U-2 flights, which was a CIA program, and that he was recruited by James Jesus Angleton, who was the director of counterintelligence, and then sent on a fake defection to Russia, and then brought back, to Dallas. And people didn't know that, even though it's been known for decades. It never percolated into the mainstream media because they have such a, they have such an allergy to anything that challenges the Warren Report. When Congress investigated my uncle's murder in the 1970s, the Church Committee did, and they did, 2.5-year investigation, and they had many, many more documents and much more testimony available to them than the Warren Commission had. And this was a decade after the Warren Commission. They came to the conclusion that my uncle was killed by a conspiracy, and there was a division where essentially one guy on that committee believed it was primarily the mafia. But Richard Schweitzer, the senator head of the committee, said, straight out, the CIA was involved in the murder of the President of the United States. And that's when my uncle said, I want to shatter the CIA in 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the winds. My uncle then, the CIA wanted him to go into Laos. He refused. They wanted him to go to Vietnam. He refused. They wanted him to go to war in 1962 with Russia. Instead, he made friends secretly with Khrushchev. Mm-hmm. They started corresponding with each other, and they both realized that they were surrounded by people who wanted them to go to war. And my uncle kept them out, but then my uncle's killed, almost certainly by the CIA and the military-industrial complex. My father then runs against them. He also gets killed, again, almost certainly by the CIA. The man who actually fired the shots that killed him was a CIA asset, a guy called Eugene Thain Caesar. Lee Harvey Oswald, we now know, was a CIA asset.
Yeah.
And the military-industrial, and we went through all of these traumas. My father's death, Dr. King's death, Malcolm X's death, the Vietnam War, the 9/11, and COVID. Each one pushed us further down the road into a security state, into becoming more a possession of the military.
Wow. How many things happened, how the world changed after JFK. And all those points that he brings up. The pain his family has endured, the pain that this country has endured. Finally, it is all being righted by President Trump. Oh, man. This is a beautiful day. An absolutely beautiful day. So don't believe the people online screaming about this is a nothing burger or something like that. This is a new era of transparency, and I'm here for it. You're here for it. We are living. We're living through history, folks. We're living through it. I'm glad you're here with me. Oh, man. This was 10 hours ago. Shadow of Ezra, FBI Director Kash Patel revealed he has read the entire JFK file, including all the classified secrets. He insists that the answers everyone is looking for are already out there. The things we can't release have nothing to do with questions you're asking.
You don't say that to people that you can't tell.
I don't want to play that. I don't want to deal with the music. Malcolm Flex, whether or not receive the JFK files or the Epstein files, just remember, real power to affect any change still rests within the Trump administration. So if the DOJ, FBI, or CIA are not doing anything, what does it tell you about the information you might see?
Public opinion. So we're hearing talk of right now about the JFK files being released. And there are also things about the whole Epstein files being released and, why this information is being brought to the forefront. But what a lot of people seem to forget is that the court of public opinion isn't the real court, right? There's no actual prosecutorial power that any of us on social media will have, regardless of whether or not these files see the light of day or don't. So, while yes, we might talk about it, we might make the spicy posts, we might get those sweet engagement clicks, if it's not a nothing burger. Even if it's a triple stack with cheese, and all the fixings type burger, like there's so much meat to this burger that it's sky high. Even if there's all this to these files, there's nothing we can do about it, right? If the DOJ, the FBI, and the CIA, which are now under the Trump administration's control, are not launching investigations or prosecutions or indictments or yada yada, if they're not doing any of this, what does that tell you? So I'm not saying this to be, old flexy downer and, rain on people's parades and whatnot, but just temper your expectations, So,
okay, well, let me respond to this, because here's the reality. The reality is that he's asking about prosecution, court of public opinion. I mean, who do you prosecute at this point for this conspiracy? Who's the guilty party? Can you hold court? Can you hold people accountable? I mean, a lot of these people are dead and gone. So I think the court of public opinion here is going to hold court. And the information that's being released is going to shift the trust point of this country. And when we look at these files and we see who is behind it, we can see why we don't trust the government to tell us everything, to give us these official reports. It gives us more ammunition. And it also provides Donald Trump ammunition so that he can right the wrongs, so that his administration and the members who are now the head of the CIA, the head of the FBI, the head of the Department of Justice, where these lies and these cover-ups began in 1963 and continued to push forward all the way to this very day. Like I said, the ship is being righted. So the court of public opinion, yes, is going to continue. People are going to have debates over what's in the files and what's not. And so far what we've seen in just this small helping is already going to have a dramatic impact. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So while there may not be courts and prosecutions, the convictions will be in our hearts as we convict those before us and fix the problems moving forward so this never happens again. You follow me? So after 60 years of lies, redactions, and stonewalling, the JFK files have finally been released to the American public. The documents that presidents from both parties kept sealed for decades are now available for everyone to examine. So as our team continues to analyze the thousands of pages, we're reminded of Malcolm Flex. The real power to effect change rests within the Trump administration. And today we're seeing that power in action. The release of these files represents a pivotal moment in American history, a test of transparency for a government that has long operated in the shadows. The question every American should be asking, and you can weigh in the comments, if these critical documents were kept hidden for nearly 60 years despite public demand for transparency, what other vital information might still be concealed from the American people? And here's what you can do. Commemorate this historic moment with an exclusive Next News hat or a t-shirt or whatever from our merch shop, shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.